Our goal has been to try to get every student whose family wants them to back in school by March 1st. We have learned that some kids have really not done very well remotely. And some kids, particularly in our urban schools, have been out of school for now almost a year. It's time to get them back in school. We have seen some of the consequences and heard some of the consequences of children not being in school, social consequences, mental health consequences, academic consequences. We saw that in some of the testing that has been done recently. In this last almost a year, we've learned a great deal about keeping schools safe. And we've learned that masks really work, even in a classroom when kids are less than 6 feet together. Superintendents have told us this, principals for some time. We went in and actually did testing in Ohio, in schools, and that was confirmed. And that child was in the classroom, everyone wearing a mask. The spread is very, very little. We also now have national data, which indicates this same thing. And recently the CDC has come forward and said it's safe to go back to school even with the personnel not having a vaccine. But we said to our teachers, our school districts, and all the personnel that we would take some of the precious vaccine and vaccinate teachers, custodians, cooks, anybody in the school, as long as that school said that we will be back in school no later than March 1st. We did that for the sole purpose of getting kids back in school. School districts promised to do this. We were very careful and very specific and very plain. And this is the document that they signed. I'm going to read a couple portions of it. For your adult school staff to be prioritized to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, you are required to return to in-person or hybrid learning model by March 1, 2021. The certification below certifies your commitment to do so, acknowledging that complete vaccine administration may not be completed by March 1st, 2021, and regardless of vaccine uptake by your staff. Later on it says, as the authorized, this is where it's signed by the school administrator. As the authorized representative of my school district, I represent our school district is committed to returning to in-person or hybrid learning by March 1, 2021. There's a place where that was signed. This was signed by every school district, public school district in the state of Ohio except one. Now, we have seen some really great progress even before March 1. Schools have by and large kept this commitment, and they've done even better. It's worked. Schools are keeping this promise. In December, 45% of our students were in fully remote schools. Today, that number is now less than 15%, and we're not even to March 1st. So I congratulate all the schools that have done this and thank them. The reason I'm here tonight, though, is we have learned that there are a handful of schools that have indicated that they will break that promise, that they will break that commitment. Not just a commitment to me, but really a commitment to the children of their district. This is simply not acceptable. And this is about the kids. Cincinnati School District superintendent called me said, could we start a couple days early? Really want to get kids back in school. And I know she was very sincere in wanting to do that. I said, look, our whole objective is to get kids back in school. If this helps you start with the K through 3, which is what she told me. I said, let's do it. And so we did that. We have now completed vaccination in Cincinnati Public Schools. However, we learned this week that Walnut Hills, one of the high schools, will remain remote the entire year. That simply is not acceptable. In Akron, again, everyone has been vaccinated in Akron. Anyone who wanted the vaccination in the school, and yet now we hear that they're not going to go back, we're told, until March 15th. That's not acceptable either. Cleveland. We have heard different reports about whether Cleveland would go back March 1st. So I called up the CEO, Eric Gordon. We had a frank, very plain, but a very good discussion. And frankly, I called him because we're in the midst now of vaccinating teachers, personnel in Cleveland City schools. And so my question to him was, are we to stop the vaccination? Should we stop the vaccination? And so we talked. He made a commitment to me. I'm very happy to report that he's going to do everything in his power to get his students back in school by March 1. We appreciate that. And I thank him for that. And I understand there's some challenges that he has, but he's going to make every effort. And I take him at his word. As I said, we had a very good discussion. This is really about our children. And it's about what we've learned in the last year. And what we've learned is that kids can be safe in school and are safe in school when everyone wears a mask and everyone follows protocol. And what we've seen in the last school year, this whole school year, is that schools have done this. Schools that have been in person, the schools have been hybrid. They've carried this out. Teachers have been wonderful. The kids have been great. Superintendents, principals, everyone has done the job. These schools are, in fact, safe inside that classroom. Parents have a right to make a decision whether to send their children back to school. That's been true all year. And parents, individual parents, have made that decision because they are the first teachers and they are the ones who should make those decisions. But what we're saying to the schools that look like they're starting to waver on this commitment, your commitment is not just to me. Your commitment is to your children in your school district, and your commitment is to those parents who have said, yes, I want to send my child back. I think that is in the best interest of the child. So this was important enough for me to take time tonight. I just had conversations about this, as I said, and I wanted to report to the people of the state of Ohio, and frankly wanted to appeal directly to the school boards, the families, school administrators. Your district signed this. You made a commitment to your kids. We expect you to fulfill that commitment.